Imagine being completely alone on a deserted island. No human voices around you, no lights, no one you could ever call for help. Only the terrifying unfamiliar sounds rising from deep within the jungle at night, and the relentless waves crashing violently against the shore. Now imagine living like this not for a single day, not for a week or even a month, but for more than 4 years. Waking up every morning to the same view, trying to fall asleep every night with the same fears, and feeling the hope of rescue grow weaker with each passing day. This is exactly the life Alexander Selkirk was forced to face. This is not just a survival story. It is a chilling, yet inspiring true tale of a real pirate that pushes the limits of the human mind, body, and spirit. Alexander Selkirk was born in 1676 in the small, quiet Scottish village of Lower Largo. From an early age, he possessed a restless and rebellious spirit. Life in a small village was never enough for him. He felt there was a larger world beyond the horizon, one filled with danger and adventure calling his name. Though this wild and independent nature often led him into trouble, it would ultimately shape his destiny. For Selkirk, the sea was not merely a way to earn money. It was an escape, a challenge, and a philosophy of life. At a young age, he took to the seas, and in 1703 he joined an English-led expedition. The mission was a dangerous privateering venture, targeting enemy ships during the War of the Spanish Succession. For Selkirk, it promised both fame and fortune, but the reality of life at sea was far from romantic. Endless storms, hunger, disease, and failed raids slowly wore down the crew. Hope would rise briefly, only to fade again. By 1704, the ship Selkirk was serving on had fallen into serious disrepair. Its wooden hull was rotting, and it was taking on water. When Selkirk realized this, fear gripped him. Continuing the journey, he believed, meant a slow death in the open ocean. He repeatedly argued with the ship's captain, Thomas Stradling, warning him that the vessel needed repairs before they could safely continue. But the captain refused to listen. Tensions escalated, arguments intensified, and eventually Selkirk, driven by fear and frustration, uttered the words that would change his life forever. "I would rather stay on this island than continue sailing on this ship." At the time, Selkirk believed it was a bluff. He assumed the captain would back down. He was wrong. When the ship stopped at the island of Mas Tierra, the captain left Selkirk ashore with only a few possessions. Minutes later, the ship raised anchor and sailed away. Realizing the consequences of his decision, Selkirk shouted and begged to be taken back, but the captain never returned. As the ship slowly disappeared over the horizon, Selkirk understood that, for the first time in his life, he was truly alone. He had only a handful of belongings: a musket, some gunpowder, a knife, a hatchet, a cooking pot, carpenter's tools, a Bible, and a few pieces of clothing. Facing him was a wild, unknown, and indifferent nature. The first days were a nightmare. He could barely sleep at night, startled by every sound. The eerie noises coming from the jungle overwhelmed his imagination, and loneliness became an unbearable weight. Regret consumed him, and he questioned his decision every single moment. As he would later confess, there were times when he even considered giving up on life entirely. But nature did not allow Selkirk the luxury of endless despair. He had to survive. At first, he sheltered in a cave near the shore and gathered whatever he could find: fruit, shellfish, and fish. Eventually, he was forced to move inland when aggressive sea lions overran the beach during their mating season. This forced relocation, ironically, became his salvation. Deep in the island's interior, he discovered fresh water sources, edible plants, and safer ground. Wild goats, left behind by earlier sailors, roamed the island. At first, Selkirk hunted them with his musket, but when his gunpowder ran out, he had to adapt. He learned to chase them, set traps, and eventually became so agile that he could run across the island's steep cliffs for hours. During one chase, he slipped and fell from a cliff, lying injured and helpless for days. By sheer luck, the goat he'd been chasing broke his fall. Without it, he likely would have died there. The island's dangers did not end there. At night, enormous rats emerged, gnawing at his hands and feet as he slept, threatening infection and disease. Selkirk found an unusual solution. He tamed the island's wild cats. They prowled around him at night, keeping the rats at bay. Over time, these animals became more than guardians. They became companions. As months turned into years, Selkirk's body changed. His shoes wore away, but his feet hardened. His clothes fell apart, so he made new ones from goatskins. His beard grew long and his appearance became wild, yet his mind strangely grew calmer. He read his Bible daily and spoke aloud to himself to preserve his language and sanity. Loneliness was no longer just an enemy, it became a teacher. Every day Selkirk scanned the horizon. His hope of rescue never faded. He occasionally spotted distant ships, but none came close. Once, Spanish vessels anchored near the island. For Selkirk, this meant death, not salvation. Capture would have meant torture or a life of slavery. He fled into the jungle, climbed a tree, and hid motionless for hours. The Spanish sailors passed directly beneath him, even stopping to relieve themselves, yet they never noticed him. Then, in February 1710, after years of isolation, Selkirk spotted two ships on the horizon. As always, he was cautious, but something about them looked different. They resembled English vessels. His heart racing, he ran to the shore, lit a fire, and sent up smoke signals. This time, fate was on his side. The ships were indeed English. After 4 years and 4 months of complete solitude, his ordeal was finally over. When Selkirk was rescued, he was not weak or broken, but remarkably strong, agile, and resilient. He even helped care for the crew members suffering from scurvy. The captain was astonished by his calmness and physical strength. Selkirk returned to the sea, joined new voyages, and eventually made his way back to England. His story caused a sensation. Years later, Daniel Defoe would draw inspiration from Selkirk's incredible survival experience to write Robinson Crusoe. Alexander Selkirk's story still reminds us today that even in our most isolated moments, humans can adapt, endure, and survive. And sometimes it is within the darkest loneliness that the greatest inner strength is revealed.